Hello. Hi. I don't know when I'm going to post this, but if you're not familiar with my essence, my name is Tariq, or Mr. Rashad, or whatever you want to call me. It doesn't really matter. But I've been wanting to make this video for a while, and I've just kind of been putting it off because that's what I do. And so here we are. Essentially, we're going to be talking about masculine and feminine energy. Okay? And we're going to go into some esoterica at some point, probably. I did take notes, but I do not have those notes in front of me, so oops. But first things first, if you're not following, if you're not subscribed, you should definitely subscribe, because why not? Secondly, if you happen to vibe with the video, if you happen to enjoy what you're watching or what you're listening to, please consider engaging with the video, commenting, liking, etc., etc. Now, all that out the way, masculine and feminine energy, what are they? And what do they do for us? Now, the other day I was scrolling, I think it was yesterday, I was scrolling on TikTok and I heard somebody say that masculine energy is inherently destructive. You know, people who are predominantly in their masculine energy, if they are not conscious of their energy, they tend to be destructive. I feel is how we could break that down. Now, feminine energy is inherently creative. When you think about the woman, she creates a child, right? And that is feminine energy, creation, artistry, creation. How many times am I going to say creation on this? I'm going to take a sip of this. And it doesn't matter your gender. A lot of people hear masculine and feminine, and they get offended because that's not how they identify or whatever, but it's it doesn't really matter. For me personally, it's taken me a while to truly embrace the idea that I am a feminine energy. I don't really I've always said to myself and to other people, I don't see myself that way. I see myself as a masculine energy. But astrologically, if you look at my chart, I mostly show up as feminine. And in the way that I'm creative, I'm also feminine, you know? Feminine is the passive. Masculine is the active. And we all have both of these energies within us. It's just, once again, most of us show up predominantly in one more than the other at certain points. But you still need both aspects. I was watching this one video. I might try to fuck around and find that link. But I was watching this video a couple weeks ago. I shared that link when I watched the video. So if you go back to when I watched it, you'll see it in the videos that I posted, because I posted it there. But I was watching this dude talk about masculine and feminine energy and how to tap into your feminine energy to get rich. And he was basically saying that I already knew this, but the way that he explained it was very eloquent. I like the way that he said it, so I'm referencing that. Feminine is receiving, once again. Masculine is giving. Now obviously the feminine energy is also giving, but in the dynamic between the two, you know, in a healthy pairing, that is how that works. They give and take, but essentially, once again, the feminine receives. And if you want to think about it in the naughty sense, you know, the feminine energy is the one that is taking the thing, and then the masculine is the one that is inserting the thing. And he also explained it in the terms of a mic, and it's funny because now I'm using a mic. The mic itself, in relation to me using it to record, is a feminine energy, but in the sense of it putting the information into the computer, that is a masculine energy, because now it's sending information, and then the computer at that point is using feminine energy to receive that information, and then I guess masculine energy would be to manifest it into something that I can listen back to, and then I would be using my feminine energy to listen back to what I recorded, you know. And then obviously editing would be a masculine, there's a balance, there's a dance. And I'm going to also talk about, once again, some esoterica, and talk about the divine feminine, because I have been very spiritual, very like in tune with that part of myself for like a few years now, more than 5 years, I think. I think 2018 was like my official awakening. A lot of us awoke back then, but the divine feminine is basically the same thing, but like on a divine level, like a mystical, magical level. And it's almost difficult to really explain it in this way because it sounds very vague. It sounds very like, what does that mean? But like, the divine feminine is someone who is tapped into their intuition, who follows their intuition, trusts their intuition, you know, someone who is aware of certain things that most people aren't. And in relation to the divine masculine, they are, or not even in relation, but just in general, but also in relation to the divine masculine, their purpose is to like bring the divine into the earth realm, you know. And now that I'm like thinking about it in that aspect, like, I mean, I already like thought about it like that, but the way I'm saying it is, I've never really phrased it this way. But trying to bring the mystical into the material. Bitch, I'm in a living life path, I'm ethereal. I'm the definition of dichotomy, duality. Katarina in the wombs for 9 months till they birthed me. I used to like be obsessed with that song. That's Field Trip by Melody Martinez. I'm sorry, I got carried away. 1 second, because I can pause there. And I'm gonna like break it down for, because like, you know, I just started sharing it. You know, I just like, that was like a channel message almost. And like me receiving that, me hearing that song in my head was a feminine energy. And then me singing it, me saying it out loud was a masculine energy, you know? And it doesn't really matter the tone, it doesn't really matter how you do it necessarily. It's still like the act of doing is a masculine thing. And back to the destruction thing, I don't think that the masculine energy is inherently destructive. I think it becomes destructive when it is unaware of itself, when it, how do I say, like the wounded masculine. If you're in spiritual circles, if you like watch a lot of tarot content, like specifically spiritual tarot content, because there's spiritual tarot and then there's also non-spiritual tarot, but I'm talking about spiritual stuff. People will say like the phrase like wounded feminine or wounded masculine or karmic masculine, and basically what this means is that like whatever that energy is, whoever that energy is, there's a distorted sense of self. And so because of that, it doesn't really recognize itself as what it truly is. And so a wounded masculine, once again, would be very destructive, would be someone who maybe has good intentions, but once again, in application is not super conscious. So like destruction, you know, it's because it's like, imagine like an elephant not being aware that it's like an elephant, you know, not being aware that it literally weighs however many tons it weighs, and it walks around with that lack of knowledge. Perfect example is, oh my goodness, this was that movie, we had to watch this in high school, of Mice and Men, I think, and I think his name was Larry. I don't remember what his name was. But there was like 2 characters, and one of them was he was like a gentle giant. Like he was huge, he was super strong, but he did not recognize his own strength. He did not know like how powerful he was. And so there were scenes where he would like do things and he would break things, but it was like obviously not on purpose. Like he killed a woman at some point. Like he broke her neck. Like I think he was like trying to pet her hair or like comb her hair or whatever, but he was doing it way too rough and he like killed her. And so like he was this monster, but he wasn't a monster. It was just his actions, you know. And it's unfortunate because most of us don't want to be seen as a bad guy, right? But like this is why so many people say self-awareness is key, because if you're not aware of yourself, if you're not aware of your strengths or your weaknesses, you can easily bleed onto other people and leave explosions everywhere. That's pretty extreme way to say that. But like, yeah, self-awareness is key. Like, And I'm not saying that as though it's an easy journey, as though like recognizing it, because like a lot of us turn away from that because it is very painful. It is very not pleasant to recognize those shadow elements, those darker parts of ourselves, but it's necessary if we want to like be whole and like be complete or whatever. And obviously I'm not perfect. I'm still learning my dang self, you know. I was on live recently, and I had this one individual say to me, because I made a comment about nicknames, and this was something I had already looked at within myself, but like she said it so directly. She was like, obviously she didn't say it though, she typed it like because it was chat, but she was like, it's because you have a problem like receiving affection. And I was like, dang, that's true. And I like had a moment, I was like, whoa, that's, you know, because for me personally, I enjoy digging into myself. I enjoy looking at the ugly parts of myself and like rectifying. But once again, for a lot of people, that is not a pleasant experience. Looking at those ugly parts and being like, that's me, is not fun for everybody. But once again, it is a necessary part of the journey. And I feel like maybe that's, you know what, now that I think about it in that context, maybe that's why I had identified as a masculine for so long, because I'm good at doing, I'm good at giving, but when it comes to receiving, I'm like, I don't know about that. Now, if we're talking about in a naughty context, I mean, same thing, but once upon a time, I was purely like a bottom boy, but if I could be transparent, if this is not to my 18 and plus, no kids, I realized that most of the dudes that I was messing with were not capable of like giving it to me good, if I can say it like that. And so I was just like, you know what, fuck that. I'm gonna be a top. Fuck that. Like, cause I, you know, obviously I wanted to have the naughty, I wanted to do the do. And so, which also, side note, please, if nothing else from this video, I hope you take something else from this video. 222 on the motherfucking timer. If nothing else from this video though, please, what was I about to say? Fuck. Oh my god, I literally, like, my whole train of thought. Like, obviously, you probably don't want to hear this, because we all like sex. Well, let me not say that, because some of us are asexual. Some of us are not interested in sex at all, and that's okay. But it is part of human nature to enjoy sex, or to want to have that act. But, like, if nothing else from this video, please, be mindful of who you connect with sexually. Like, in any sense, you should be mindful of who you're connecting with, like who you're talking with, who you're hanging out with, etc., etc. But in a sexual sense, so much more. And I'm so glad that I learned that lesson. And I'm also glad that I stopped being a bottom, because I feel like it's much more dangerous to like receive sexual energy than it is to give sexual energy. I mean, obviously there's an exchange either way, but like when you're receiving it, you're open to like whatever that other person is giving, you know? And honestly, I could probably say that like, this is gonna sound crazy. This is gonna sound like I'm hyping myself up or whatever, but honestly, I could really say, because of my awareness, because of my like, my energy, when I'm giving it to someone, when I like put it in someone, like it is literally a blessing. You know, like you are getting some good shit. And I imagine the other way around, it would probably be the same, but I haven't bottomed in, so actually it hasn't been that long. Never, shut up, you don't need to know that. We don't need to divulge all of that information. But yeah, for my ladies out there, for my bottoms, for my gays, like please be careful of who you're letting stick inside you. Like I know sometimes it's, you get desperate and it's like, I want this so badly, but like when you really think about the long-term effects, like that's why people get depressed. Sometimes that's why people like it sounds woo-woo, it sounds crazy. This is Esoterica. Hello, welcome. But like literally that's how that happens. Like I remember one time, oh my god, This is a weird memory. One time I stuck it in this dude. I had sex with this dude who, very tall dude, very talented. I'm not going to name him, obviously, but it was this dude, and he was obviously not completely right in the head. No judgment, no shame. I mean, there's also the energy of, like, he was kind of low-key possessed, and he, like, told me, like, he literally, like, explained certain things to me, and I was like, okay, awesome, good for you. And I, being, you know, the courageous, open, adventurous type of person that I am, I was just like, okay, I'm still here for the ride, because I know I'm Gucci, I know I'm safe, you know, I'm not worried. But long story short, I ended up sticking it in him. And afterwards, I swear to you, like, the level of depression that I experienced was insane. And we were still hanging out, we were still talking, like, after the fact. But, like, I just remember feeling so numb. And I, like, asked him at some point, I was like, is this how you feel? And he was like, yep. I was like, what the fuck? But I just went with it, because, you know, once again, I know I'm good, I know I'm Gucci, I'm not worried about shit like that. But, because eventually it passed. Eventually I overcame that feeling, but it was, like, so strong. And, like, it got me to a mental space where I was, like, thinking some really dark shit, you know. And that's, once again, why you have to be very careful about who you share that energy with, because you never know what kind of energies people have attached to them. Like, it's not no judgment shit, it's not no, like, oh, you're unclean, but, like, literally, people have unclean spirits. And if you're not careful about that, you will be affected by that. I mean, it's okay to get a little dirty, it's okay to get a little nasty, but, like, if you care about your spiritual hygiene, if you care about your energetic hygiene, you have to be careful about your sex. Like, bottom line. Honestly, because of the way society is run, it's really easy for me to say that, like, most people are kind of, like, wounded or in their toxic era, if you will. And once again, I feel the need to say so many times, no judgment. There's no shame. This is a no shame era, or no era. This is a no shame zone. You know, if you're here and you start shaming yourself, please don't do that. That is not my goal. Like, my goal is to help you gain awareness and recognize who the fuck you are, not to make you feel bad about yourself. Okay, so once again, most people are pretty wounded. Most people are pretty, like, fucked up in the head because of society, because of, like, the system at large. And in that sense, when we talk about, like, the feminine energy, just like I talked about the toxic masculine energy, like, there's a lot of toxic feminine energy. Like, it goes both ways. And the toxic feminine often shows up as somebody who is very good at manipulation, very good at getting what they want, which is not a bad thing. You know, obviously, get what you want, go get her. But they often do it in ways that are unhealthy and not good for themselves or the other person involved. You know, that sugar. Wait, no. What was I about to say? No, that gold digger energy. You know, that person who people like to paint as, like, oh, she's just doing it for money. Which, who cares? That's what you go to a job for, right? But nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to equate having a 9 to 5 to, like, having a lifestyle where you get to just make money and you know, like, people, I don't know, there's some jealousy there. And that's also a thing about the feminine energy. I mean, jealousy exists within both energies, that's a thing, but when it comes to the feminine, I'm sorry, I'm, like, getting information. 1 second. Okay, I'm being called to go in a different direction. So I'm going to ask you here in this moment, where do you lean? Do you know what you identify as, what you show up as in the world? Do you know if you're more masculine leaning or feminine leaning? Once again, your gender and your sexuality has nothing to do with this. There's so many feminine men that exist that are straight, but, like, don't recognize that they are feminine, and so they don't really know how to find the right partner. Like, if you are naturally a feminine man, you're supposed to find a masculine woman. You know, that's kind of how that's supposed to, like, naturally, according to nature, that's how that works. And that goes for any sexuality, any gender. Like, if you are biologically female, but you have more masculine dominant energy within you. Doesn't matter your sexuality, doesn't matter who you're looking for. You should be looking for someone who matches your energy, someone who is more feminine, someone who's more submissive, you know. And I don't know, ideally when you talk about the partnership of these two energies, it's supposed to be a partnership. It's supposed to be a balance, you know. They both help each other in the ways that they can. But because of the ways in which society toxifies our brain, we don't really see it that way. Like, I don't know, there's so many things we could unpack. There's so many things we could talk about when it comes to like society and like generational trauma and all that ugly stuff. But bottom line, I'm going to bring it back to self-awareness and like understanding who you are. And like, I guess if you want like a litmus test or whatever, like to determine whether you're masculine or feminine, if you're unsure after watching this video, someone who is in their masculine energy is somebody who is, I don't want to say perpetually, but I'm going to say perpetually, like consistently in a mode of action. You might often be told you need to rest or you need to slow down, you know, because you're consistently moving, you're always in action. And then another thing about it to know if you are I think if you're divine, if you're connected to the divine, you know that aspect of you. But I guess some of us do have a more unconscious connection. Anyways, if you're not sure about the feminine, a feminine energy is someone who is very, not always submissive, but usually submissive, someone who is eager to be of service, someone who's eager to, and it's funny, it's really funny when we think about society as a whole, because, you know, people see men as like the dominant energy. But like when you really think about like the divinity of it, like the aspect of creation, it's like women are naturally connected to that. Like biological females are naturally connected to that. And when you think about the power of like divinity, or when I think about the power of divinity, it holds much more weight than anything in this physical reality. And so knowing that, it's like women having that natural connection should be at the forefront of our society. Shout out to Kamala Harris. It is the 6th of November. I don't like talking about politics on here, governmental politics, but like that was a thing. And if you were to ask me, which I have had people ask me, I would say that Donald Trump is like the perfect example of what happens when you allow your wounds, your trauma, your ego, emphasis on ego, to control your personality. Because when you boil it down, at least from the way that I look at it, because I could be wrong, I don't know this man's mind, but from the way I look at it, this man just wants power. He just wants control. He just wants to, and he's already done it, which is crazy to me, because like, it's like he couldn't take a step back to recognize that like this was like a pivotal moment, and he just like ruined it. Like, we would have had our first woman president. Like, even if you, however you feel about anything, that's a pretty big thing. You know, like imagine if Barack Obama was snubbed out. Like, it's not even like the idea of like the position, it's just the idea of like you can do anything, you know, going back to your own sovereignty. Like it's the idea of like you can do anything. And for a lot of children, that would have been like a huge, like, you got it, girl, you know, seeing a woman in that position. Like, obviously that position is just a figurehead. It doesn't really mean all that much, but like it is still something. And it was just like, you really couldn't take a step back from your ego long enough to like see. I don't know. There's a part of me though that has a conspiracy that like they're all in cahoots, and like Kamala and Donald are like, I don't know, conversing and like exchanging ideas and I don't know. That's just a conspiracy that like crossed my mind the other day. But yeah, I feel like this video is going to be all over the place, and I'm okay with that. If you, once again, are enjoying this, if you appreciate this sort of content, please engage with the video. Please let me know what you think. Please subscribe. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm trying to think. 1 second. This is what happens when you don't take notes. I did take notes, but this is what happens when you don't have your notes. Another way to look at the dance between the masculine and the feminine is that the masculine is meant to be a container, something to hold the feminine. Not in a controlling, possessive sort of way, but in a protection, you're safe sort of way. And when we look at people like Shira, remember the sprinkle lady, the things that she talks about at a core level, like sometimes I disagree with some of the things she says, but like at the core of it, she is talking to like the divine feminine, like people who have that connection to source, have that connection to God, and want to live their best life. And the feminine, once again, is the creator, is the fluidity. And then the masculine is supposed to protect them and serve them in a way. And obviously it goes both ways. The feminine also serves the masculine, but think of it like a bottle or like a cup. Like this container, this bottle is the masculine energy. And then the water inside, this isn't water, it's wonder water. The divine water. The water inside is the feminine energy. Excuse them all. And then, like, they utilize each other. They work with each other. But I will say a lot of times, if one of these parties is in their, like, wounded era and the other is not, it's often pretty noticeable, you know, because it's just not an equal exchange, unfortunately. And once again, back to Shira, back to Sprinkle, because she be talking about some, why did my Ave come out? She talks about how women need to like claim what is theirs, because literally women create, I almost said you, because obviously women mostly watch my videos, but like women create life. Like men do not do that on a biological level. Like, yes, they are a participant, but like at this point in time, science can like make a child with like 2 women. Like you can do that. It costs a lot of money, but you can do that. I don't think that's possible yet for 2 men. Like you can't literally do that. But besides the point, once again, this is going to be a very disjointed video. For me, at least, like, I know it could be a lot more organized, and the Virgo in me is like, why didn't I just make this a better video? This is why I've been putting this off, because I knew that once I did this was going to be all over the place. And I don't know, maybe I have to accept that. I don't know. 222 on the clock, and something I'm thinking about is how we use the terms interchangeably, karmic and divine. Like, I've heard a lot of people say, like, the divine feminine, and then also say karmic feminine. And honestly, it's like 2 sides of the same coin. Because when people are talking about, like, karmic individuals, we're usually talking about people that in relation to us, like, in our relationship with them, force us to, like, learn life lessons and whatnot. And, I'm literally just thinking about this, like, real time. I've thought about it before, but like now I'm thinking about it again real time. Because I remember this one chick, I commented on a video, I reposted a video because I thought it was really beautiful. She was talking about her discovery with finding out she is a karmic feminine. And I think sometimes This might be the Virgo in me, this might be the Gemini in me, but I think sometimes we get caught up on the words of things rather than the actual, like, what it is, like the substance, you know, like feminine and masculine, rather than what it actually is and the importance of it. But she was talking about that, and it was like the first time that I had heard somebody reference the karmic as like a positive thing, because she was talking about how, like, you know, she's always giving love and, you know, being of love, but people often reflect hate, and that is often the role of the divine feminine, you know. But it just made me think, like, is that not the same thing, like a karmic? Because karma isn't inherently a bad thing. Once again, with the semantics and like the way that we use words, I feel like that word has become very negative, which it doesn't need to be, because karma is just a neutral thing. It's just action. Like, what you put out comes back. That's kind of what that means. Good or bad or neutral, you know? And so, I don't know. It's interesting. Interesting thoughts. I mean, I think because of the way that we use words, it wouldn't really be couth. It wouldn't really be appropriate to go around calling people with good intentions. It wouldn't be a good idea with good faith to call people like karmics, you know, because a lot of people associate that with negatives, and like, I don't know. But that also just goes back to like personal interpretation. Like, if I know that that's not a negative term, why should I have to like change what I say? I mean, I guess for the sake of like reaching the person who needs the message, I guess I would say it like that. Esoterica. I am live thinking about the idea of like, because, okay, I guess when you look at the word divine, it really just translates to divinity, which is godhood, deification. And so when you put it like that, it's kind of like just recognizing that you are a god in human form. And once again, the semantics don't really matter. Like, whether you identify as like an earth angel, as a god, as a goddess, as a priest, as like whatever you identify as, does not matter as much as like the energy that you're embodying, you know? Like, it doesn't matter if you call yourself a card reader if you don't actually read cards on a daily basis, you know what I mean? Sorry, not sorry for taking you on this tangent, but this is the way my brain works. So I touched on jealousy before, and I feel like oftentimes what makes that happen is that, like, specifically in relationships, like romantic partnerships, it's usually because we have one or more toxic individuals in the connection, right? And oftentimes their energies, like their masculine and feminine energies, do not match. Like, maybe there's some lessons within those complications, but generally they do not match, you know? Like, after I understood that I naturally, excuse me, you know what, actually, I take that back. I don't think that's really true about myself, to say that I'm naturally feminine. Because when I think about my work ethic, like, I have a very masculine drive. Like, I'm very ambitious, I'm very go-getter. But I have a good balance, is what I'm trying to say. But that being said, you know what? Actually, I'm having an epiphany. I'm having like a internal epiphany. 1 second, or a couple seconds. Hold on. I'm sorry, but not sorry for not completing my thoughts. But I'm thinking about the idea of like, because most people do predominantly show up in either feminine or masculine. Most people have both energies, but we show up in either or, you know. And as I'm thinking about that in relation to like partnership, I'm like, is that why it's more difficult for certain people to find partners? Because they're like, so like, the way I had it explained in a tarot reading the other day, because I watch a lot of tarot content, excuse me, but she was basically saying, for me, or for whoever was watching, whoever the message was for, but I do believe it resonated for me. She was basically saying that I am oh my goodness, if I could speak, I am so balanced within both of these aspects. Like, I am like two wholes. Like, instead of being like half or like just one whole, like I'm like literally two wholes. And I guess for some people that probably translates to a personality thing, like multiple personalities. I don't know. A lot of mental illness and like mental diagnoses do have spiritual identity, have spiritual significance, you know, like schizophrenia. There's a lot to be said about the spiritual aspect of that, but not today. But yeah, because it's like, that can be intimidating to somebody who is mostly in their feminine, and they see somebody who is like perfectly in both of their feminine and masculine. To someone who's insecure, someone who hasn't done the inner work, that is very intimidating. And I've realized that like a lot of the people that I come into contact with, you know, because like also when you boil it down, outside of our bodies, we are all, and this is just a philosophy, you're welcome to disagree, whatever. Sometimes I don't necessarily feel this way, but outside of our bodies, we are light. We are just love, you know. But this matrix, this system that we've signed up for, has convinced us that that is not the case. It has convinced us that we are just our bodies. Oh my God, Melanie Martinez, second time she's come through this video. I'm not real, just like, wait, what'd she say? You're not real, just like me. We were never our bodies, hot like melting icy cream. Trying to bring the mystical into the material. Same, that's, it's full circle. That's literally the same song from earlier. I love that. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I have to thank my guides. I have to, or I don't know. I have to be careful about like what ideas I like cling to, because with having so much Virgo in my chart, I'm very analytical about things. I'm very critical. I'm very like, let me look at this another way, you know, and my views, my ideas, my spiritual ideologies have changed a lot over the years. At some point I was an atheist. At some point I was full on atheist, and I was like, nothing else, nothing exists after life. God, if he does exist, he's an asshole, and all that stuff. That's legitimately, I believed in that for like the last year of high school. And then once I graduated, I started experimenting. I started dabbling in different things, and I found my way to what I believe in now, which is an amalgamation of things. But a good chaos magician knows that belief is the focal point of their reality. What you believe is what you see, you know. Seeing is not believing. Believing is seeing. And so, once again, we are not just our bodies. And I don't know, I feel like I was all over this for all over the place. But I hope that this video did something for you. I hope that this was like useful for somebody. And once again, if so, you should definitely check out the link or links that are going to be in the description. You should definitely consider subscribing, and stay groovy, stay hydrated, and have a nice rest of your day. Bye.